Hello, my name is Kathryn Butler. Thanks for clicking on my talk, Coping with Future Arguments and Memory Failures. I hope you're doing well and staying healthy. Now let's dive right in. The research question for my study is, how does anticipatory coping about a future argument today affect memory failures tomorrow, and how might proactive coping moderate this relationship? First, let's break down some of these variables. Anticipatory coping is a set of 4 coping methods that aim to reduce the impact of specific future stressors, which includes the coping methods of plan rehearsal, problem analysis. These 2 types are the ones I focused on in my results, outcome fantasy, and stagnant deliberation. Proactive coping is future-oriented behaviors and cognitions meant to aid in the achievement of one's goals. Proactive and anticipatory coping are similar in that they both prepare for future stressors. However, among other differences between the two, anticipatory coping is directed toward one specific stressor, whereas proactive coping is directed towards more vague future stressors. Previous research has identified that arguments are strong predictors of memory failures, and that anticipatory coping with potential arguments can be detrimental for older adults' health. I aim to fill in the gaps between these studies by looking at how anticipatory coping with potential arguments today can affect memory failures tomorrow, and see if proactive coping can help to explain this relationship. This research is important because anticipatory coping and proactive coping have the potential to be used as tools to decrease stressor exposure, which would therefore aid in avoiding the negative effects on well-being that are associated with stress. This research also focuses on memory failures because they have been linked to negative health effects and are associated with real-world memory tasks that can be vital for health and well-being, such as remembering to take medications. It is necessary to look at what memory failures are related to and what causes them so that they can be avoided. Looking at both coping and memory failures will allow for a better understanding of how they are related so that methods of coping might be utilized to decrease memory failures. The data in this study is from the Mindfulness and Anticipatory Coping Everyday Daily Diary Study and included 105 younger adults aged 18 to 36 and 116 older adults aged 60 to 90, recruited from Amazon's Mechanical Turk, which is a survey program. Older adults were excluded from the study if they disclosed that they had mild cognitive impairment or dementia. Participants completed a survey once daily. The MACE study is quite novel because of the use of the daily diary design, because it helps to capture a more accurate picture of participants' daily lives. Anticipatory coping was measured daily using the measure of mental anticipatory processes, which was modified to be asked on a daily basis. Participants answered a set of 15 items several times for each stressor domain. Arguments were the stressor domain that I focused on in this study. The items were on a 5-point Likert scale, ranging from 1, never, to 5, always. As mentioned before, anticipatory coping is a set of 4 different methods, and this study discusses 2 of those methods, plan rehearsal and problem analysis. Plan rehearsal was 3 items, and was represented in questions like, I think about the solution in a step-by-step fashion. Problem analysis consisted of 5 items, with an example being, I think about why the problem is happening. Proactive coping was measured on day 1 using the Proactive Coping Inventory, with 14 items on a 4-point scale from 1, not at all true, to 4, completely true. An example of one of these items is, I try to pinpoint what I need to succeed. Participants were then assigned a sum score, with a higher score reflecting higher levels of proactive coping. Memory failures were measured daily, with 6 items answered with a yes or no response. An example of a question is, did you go back to check you had done something that you meant to do? A sum score was created from the amount of yes responses that were reported. we ran lagged models so that anticipatory coping data was from the day before the memory failures data. Regression results indicated that increases in plan rehearsal the previous day are associated with increases in memory failures. So more plan rehearsal, more memory failures. But this main effect is qualified by an interaction with proactive coping. So we graphed it to find out what this interaction looked like. Those who are low in proactive coping, which is the blue line, experience an increase in memory failures when they have increases in plan rehearsal on the previous day. However, those who are high in proactive coping, which is the red line, seem to benefit from the increases in plan rehearsal the previous day. They experience a decrease in memory failures. We then looked at problem analysis and found that the results were similar to plan rehearsal. The regression outputs told us that problem analysis is associated with an increase in subsequent memory failures, and that this main effect also depends on proactive coping. So we graphed this interaction too. It is clear that the interaction is similar to the plan rehearsal model. They look almost like the same graph. Those who are low in proactive coping experience an increase in memory failures when they have increases in problem analysis on the previous day. However, those who are high in proactive coping seem to benefit from increases in problem analysis the previous day. They experience a decrease in memory failures. Plan rehearsal and problem analysis seem to be associated with fewer memory failures when the participant has high levels of proactive coping. This reveals that proactive coping could be a tool to maximize benefits of anticipatory coping by decreasing memory failures. These findings offer insight into potential areas of intervention to promote well-being. Because the models for plan rehearsal and problem analysis were so similar, future research might explore possible commonalities between them so that anticipatory coping as a whole could be further understood. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for tuning in to my research talk. If you have any questions about my research, feel free to contact me through email, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.